Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Druk's Milan Unboxing. It's morning here at Emperor's Palace. I'm sitting again here with a former WBA and IBF World Junior Lightweight Champion, South African great Brian Mitchell. He's going to be doing the commentary on Super Sport on Saturday night, and we're going to give a bit of a rundown and a breakdown through the card. Welcome, Brian.
Thanks, Druk's. Yeah, it's a fantastic card. December Detonation, which will be tomorrow evening. I mean, we're waiting now for the weigh-in. As you said, it's morning here in our bubble at Emperor's Palace. We had a good night's sleep. All the fighters have checked their weight this morning, and we're ready to go for the weigh-in at 12 o'clock today.
We're ready to rumble. At least me and you can eat. We don't
can
have to worry. Well, the fighters can eat after the weigh. It shows more with me. But anyhow, let's get cracking on it. You know, we've got the one half of the semi-final of the cruiserweight tournament. Who will prevail at the cruiserweight tournament? One semi-final was done and dusted last time out. Level Mashitua beat Keaton Gomes. The second time that he beat him actually, and now we have a guy who's sort of considered the top up-and-comer in the cruiserweight division here in South Africa. We've got the Rainan, we've got the Mtulu, who are already established stars. But Akani Puzi, undefeated 11-0. He's taking on a very experienced guy, much more experienced, veteran guy, more towards the tail end of his career, Johnny Miller.
Yeah, a terrific fight. I mean, Puzi is undefeated, as you said, 11-0. Trained by Alan Terwell, who's a seasoned trainer and a good trainer. And then you got Johnny Miller. What hasn't Johnny done? You know, Johnny's even beaten Kevin Arena in Kevin's only defeat, of which Kevin obviously avenged. But Johnny's been a light heavyweight, he's been a heavyweight, he's been a cruiserweight. I think he's in his rightful division now at cruiserweight. He looks the part of cruiserweight. And Harold Fulbrack's got him in good condition, so it should be an interesting fight. Puzi is very talented.
Yes, if you look at Johnny Miller, in his last fight was at heavyweight, right? And we all know he's not really a heavyweight. He took the fight because it was there, his payday. And he fought an undefeated heavyweight prospect called Peter Milas. Now Milas holds a knockout victory, one of the few people who holds a knockout victory over Kevin Johnson. Now, Kevin Johnson is sort of a journeyman type, but he fights all the big names, and generally he goes a distance. And Milas knocked him out, but he couldn't knock Johnny out. So Johnny is a durable guy.
Yeah, for sure.
Akani Puzi, is he really a puncher?
Yes, well, this is going to be the interesting part. So that makes it a great fight. Johnny's got all the experience. Johnny's been around a long time. Puzi's a young man that can punch, but he hasn't fought the best opponents yet. Johnny's a step up and an interesting fight, a good fight in the cruiserweight division.
Puzi looked like a puncher when he scored a spectacular one-punch knockout of Chris Thompson, but that's been a while back since he's been fighting seasoned sort of journeyman, high-level journeyman like Vikapita Maroro, Wilberforce Sherpa. He went the distance with those guys. He didn't look quite as impressive, and I believe there were injuries also that was.
I think he's a pretty much decent puncher because he's accurate, he's sharp, he's young, he doesn't waste punches. So I think he can punch, but I think Johnny can take a punch. So interesting fight.
So we'll see. Do you have a prediction on that, Brian?
I think Johnny Miller is a very good friend of mine, and I was his manager once upon a time.
Okay.
If I had to stick my neck out, I would say Puzi's the better boxer. So I would think Puzi could win a decision.
Yes, I think I'm also have to go for Akani Puzi on points. And then just briefly touching on the other semi-final that happened. What did you think about Lebo Mashitua's performance against Keaton Gomes last night?
Lebo was brilliant, but I believe Lebo is going to move down to the light heavyweight division now. It's be a better division for him. But he was great in his fight against Keaton Gomes.
Okay. All right, moving on. Then we have another top prospect. He's been moved very fast. 6-0, Ricardo Malajika.
Yes.
Magic Man. He's taking on another Alan Terwell fighter, a seasoned campaigner. 12-6-2 record. So he's lost some fights, but they were close fights. Some could have gone either way. And his experience, he's fought at a higher level than Malajika has. So it might be a serious test for Malajika. Might even be an upset.
Well, hopefully not, because I'm involved with Malajika as well.
You're his manager, yeah.
But yes, obviously I've got to be very biased tomorrow night. I'm a super sport commentator.
You've got to be unbiased.
And I've got to be unbiased. I've got to be unbiased. I'm a super sport commentator and I'm a Golden Gloves publisher. So yes, it's an interesting fight. It's a tough fight for the young Malajika. He's 6-0. And once again, Alan Terwell is a brilliant trainer, and he's going to bring this guy Rafiwa Namashungwa in brilliant condition. So I don't think we'll see an upset. I think Malajika will edge that one as well, but a tough fight.
Malajika's last performance against Nobi Mkize, You were there for that fight, also doing the ringside commentary. Malajika hit the canvas twice. He put Mkhize on the canvas twice. Also, I think he stopped him in the 8th round, but not the best performance. He fought an undefeated guy, but it was a bit scrappy.
Yes, not a good performance by any means by Ricardo Malajika. He admits it himself. He's a young man. He's only 22 years old. And he's going to try and keep that 6-0 record, but I agree, he didn't look good in his last fight. He needs to step it up if he wants to remain undefeated, for sure.
But it is a good thing. That's the kind of thing that a fighter needs coming up. You don't want to knock everybody out in 2 or 3 rounds. You need a gut check like that, and you need to sometimes see, well, there's stuff that I have to work on.
For sure. Well, Ricardo is a puncher, which you don't often see small guys being punchers from the flyweight division and the junior bantamweight division. He's really a good puncher. But that can be detrimental in your career. If you're knocking guys out, like you just said, and you're winning your fights by knockout, then you don't have to box. You think you can get away with it.
You fall in love with the power.
You fall in love with your power, and you look for the knockout all the time, which you shouldn't do in the fight game. The knockout comes by itself. So Malajika, hopefully he's learned that he's got a box now. He's got to be better balanced. He wasn't very well balanced in that fight. And I've given him some advice. I've told him to box, be smart, you've got the power, and don't look for the knockout that comes by itself. So a good fight, a tough fight for Ricardo Malajika.
Yeah, I think I also have to sort of slightly favour Malajika. I think he will need to improve on his last performance, but if he does that, which he should be able to do, he has that big amateur record, guys, then he should prevail. But I think then Mushunga, he calls himself a tsetse fly, and the tsetse fly, that stings, and I think he's going to be pesky. So I think that's one of the more intriguing bouts on the card. I think for a good one day.
It's an interesting fight for sure.
Right, and then we move on. Then we've got Rourke, Razor Knapp going up against Simon Gladler. Now Rourke, in the Super 4 junior middleweight tournament that Brandon Tyson won in the end, of course, Rourke in the semi-final he got stopped by Brandon, but then he rebounded and had a very impressive win last time out against Tristan Treater.
Yeah, Rourke Knapp is an interesting fighter. I mean, he was touted as the next best thing in South Africa, and then he got knocked out by Tyson, as we know. And then he came back and had that brilliant win, as you just said, against Treater. He's charismatic, he's colourful, he can punch, he's nice to watch, and he's exciting, and it should be a great fight because you got Simon Gladler bowling everybody out, you know, and now we know that he's been knocked out before Rourke Knapp, so that makes it so interesting. But this build, this Golden Gloves build, at Empress Palace is absolutely phenomenal. It's a great fight. That's
a great fight as well, because Simon Gladler is kind of a dark horse. There's not really footage available on him. I don't know if you could find anything. I couldn't. I knew he won the SA title by knockout.
He's not even so much a dark horse to me. I've seen him knock a few guys out.
You've seen him? Okay.
I've seen him actually knock guys cold. He can crack. He's an awesome puncher. He's a devastating puncher. So Rourke Knapp's going to have to be on his A level, his best game. But this is, of course, is a big fight. It's for the IBO Youth World Title. It's an opportunity that these two youngsters can change their life and will change their life. So Rourke Knapp wants it desperately, and of course Simon Gladler wants to win.
It's a dangerous fight for Rourke. It's a dangerous fight for either guy. Because Rourke is really explosive.
Yes.
And I think he does better when he's on his offense than when he's forced to box and reset and so on. So we'll see, you know. But what would you do if you were Rourke now fighting a dangerous puncher? Would you go and try and get the guy out of it before he hurts you?
No.
Or would you box?
No, you got to box. You got to box. You got to be smart. Rourke Knapp's got to go and try and outsmart his guy. His hands got to be tight, and he must look to not get knocked out. Simon Gladler's got to go for the knockout.
Yes.
He's a good puncher. He's strong. He's powerful. He's got to jump on Rourke Knapp, and he's got to try and knock him out. Rourke Knapp's got to box clever, and I would think if Rourke Knapp does box clever, he can beat Simon Gladler.
Well, last time I went for Tristan Treater and Rourke put egg all over my face, but that's why I like this sport, because if you're right all the time, what's the point of watching, you know, and it becomes boring.
You know, these fights, I mean, I've been boxing 50 years and I've been with Golden Gloves for 30 of those years. These fights are brilliant. You can't really predict the winner here. I wouldn't go put money on any of these fights. I wouldn't put my own money in.
I'm definitely not putting money on Knapp versus Gladler, because that's a very dangerous fight for either guy.
Yeah.
But
an excellent fight.
I'm going to go with a more known quantity, which is Rourke. He's proved me wrong in the past, so I'm going to stick with Rob for this one, but I'm not betting the rent money on it.
Correct, correct.
And then we've got the guy who I think, to me, is, if we're talking prospects, not established guys like Reina, is probably the best prospect in the Golden Glove stable, and that's Jabulani Mackenzie. Would you agree with that?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Jabulani Mackenzie, I would say pound for pound right now, I'm sticking my neck out again, he's the best fighter in the country.
And it wasn't much easy. If you look last year, he had Olani Botelli, who was fighting for the SA title, and he was a SA champion. He had Michael Quena, Anton Gilmore, who's always, he's scrappy, but he's always brings it. And you had the guy from Cape Town, the Congolese guy, Marius Matamba,
good one.
Smiths, and that was, we had some tough fights. And then the criticism was also always with Mackenzie that he doesn't score for knockout.
Yeah.
And then last time out, we were both there at ringside, and he took out Eric Kapia, who was a durable guy, he's only been stopped by Tools and Benge, and he blasted him out in 1 round.
Yeah, he's upped his game, that's what makes him such a good fighter. When he had about 5 fights, I thought to myself, Sebastian Rothman told me about this prospect, and I looked at him and I thought, he's not bad, he's not as great as Sebastian's making him up. By the time he had his 8th fight, 9th fight, I'm thinking, this guy's world class. So he's a good fighter, he can punch, he can box, and he's something to look out for. And the guy who fought, obviously has fought a good fight against Detonation Bengi and went the distance.
He's fighting Mardochi Kuvesa Katembo, another DRC fighter. Katembo's got a decent record, and his claim to fame, of course, he's not a big puncher, but he's never been knocked out. You've seen him in his last fight quite recently against Detonation Bengi. He lost on points, but he was there, he was in the Bengi's face, he put up a fight, he competed well, lost clearly in my book. So now it's kind of intriguing, because sometimes you have 2 fighters in the same weight division, and they start fighting the common opponents, and the one tries to one-up the other guy by knocking the common opponent out. You would remember that back in the days of you and when Dingaan was fighting all your opponents and thing like that. Do you think Mackenzie can be the first guy to stop Katembo?
So that we'll know tomorrow night. That's interesting. Every fighter is so competitive. And Bengi had a tough fight with him. And Bengi, like you say, won convincingly, but a tough fight. So let's see what Jabulani Mackenzie can do. I believe he's got the tools to go all the way. Yeah,
it will be very interesting to see. I've got a feeling Mackenzie is going to pull out a stoppage. I might be wrong.
Yeah,
I'd like to see a fighter improve, and I can see improvement in him.
I would have Mackenzie as well, definitely.
Yes. Now, the big name on the card is, of course, Kevin Lerena. So IBO World Champion has been that for a long time. He is looking for that big fight against somebody in the 4 major organizations, which has been sort of elusive, and now the COVID-19 crisis put a damper on it. So there's been a lot of, he gets a lot of flack there on social media because he's sort of in a water treading kind of mode lately, but that big fight is just not coming. So he's staying busy again against Patrick Ferguson from the US. How do you see that fight?
Yeah, well, Kevin Lerena is a good fighter. We spoke about it in our last interview. He's a guy that never had an amateur record. I mean, that's incredible to become an IBO world champion from no amateur record. He's actually mind-boggling. Kevin's a good fighter. He's humble. He's dedicated. He's disciplined. He's an ambassador, a good ambassador for the sport of boxing. And yeah, he's undefeated as the IBO champion. Hasn't fought the best in the world yet, like the Usaks of the world, but those fights haven't come. It's not Kevin's fault. Those fights will come, but Kevin is growing now as well. He's in stature and in size.
Yes.
And there's a new weight division, which is great for Kevin Lerena. There's now the breacher weight. There's a breacher weight division which has just come out now. So there's a big chance that he's going to be fighting for the WBC breacher weight title in March next year on the Golden Glove show.
There is something like that.
There's talk already about it, so I'm sure I can announce it, which will happen at Empress Palace and it'll be on the Golden Glove show. So Kevin would be one of the first guys fighting for the breacher weight title, which is 101 kilograms, which is between cruiserweight and kind of the big heavyweights like Fury and Wilder and those guys, and Joshua. And I think that would suit Kevin.
Yes, I think it would suit him because the weight isn't easy for him. He's taking place at a catch weight of 96 kilos.
This is 96 kilograms.
So he gets to just need a little bit. But if we talk about Kevin Lerena, we say he hasn't fought the really big names, which is true. but he hasn't fought tomato cans either. I mean, on his record, his breakout was probably Mickey Nielsen when he won the Super 4. His only loss was early in his career against Johnny Miller, right? And then I remember watching that and I thought, okay, Kevin Lerena is marketable,
Yes.
He's a good looking kid, he can speak behind the mic, he markets himself well. It's probably going to be a popular local attraction sort of thing, sort of like Rainer Liebenberg.
Yes.
And then he surprised us all, you know, and he learned, and he beat Johnny in the rematch. And then he went to the Super 4 and he beat the undefeated Dane Mickey Nielsen. He beat Nielsen, and then he got the shot at the vacant IBO belt. He beat Yuri Kalenga, who back at that time was very dangerous. He's a bit shot-worn now, but now, then he was a dangerous character, and even beat him. So those were two very good wins.
Yes, for sure.
Dimitro Kucher, he was also a decent fighter.
Yes.
So he's done something right, because if we look at the independent world rankings, the ones outside the sanctioning bodies, like the Ring and the Transnational Boxing Rankings Board, those are two of them. The top guy is Marius Breeders now, won the World Boxing Super Series, and is the IBF champion and the Ring champion. But then the guys below, Kevin, both at Ring and at Transnational Boxing Board. So these are guys that are not sanctioning bodies. In the case of a TRBB, there's no promotional affiliation and stuff there. And he's ranked number 5 by both, so that tells you something. He's a truly world-class fighter.
For sure. Kevin is one of those unique fighters. You know, me personally as well, when I saw him those days with Johnny Miller coming through the ranks, I thought he's good, but he's, like you said, he's not going to be great. He's turned that around. You know, he's got that X factor, he's got the looks, he's got the body, and he can fight, and he's got that dedication. And he's turned it around to become from an average fighter to a good fighter to almost a great fighter now.
He's very explosive.
He's explosive, he's working his way towards the big league, and he hasn't lost since he's won a world title. And I think he's going to be good in the breacherweight division as well. And talking Patrick Ferguson, I think Kevin blows him out the water.
Patrick Ferguson, decent sort of record on paper, but he hasn't really fought anybody on Kevin's level. He's never been knocked out. His losses have been on the road. He's been to Ghana, he's been to Australia. So South Africa should be a walk in the park, just the whole setup of fighting on the road. But he's never fought anybody like Kevin. So I also think Kevin is going to end it in 3 rounds or so.
Yeah. But as you know, the sport of boxing doesn't work like we think it's going to work.
You never know what happens, because we've seen some massive upsets. We've seen the Japanese guy Nakatani upsetting Badeo the other day, and locally I keep helping on it, but it was a shocker at Lomo knocking out Tongeni.
Yeah, for sure.
So you never ever know.
And one punch changes a fight, and it depends how badly anybody wants to fight. If Patrick Ferguson wants to beat the IBO Cruiserweight champion tomorrow night in a non-title fight and go to the next level, then he's dangerous. So it depends what Patrick Ferguson brings to the party. Everybody's dangerous when they get that opportunity. So it's still a dangerous fight for Kevin, but I believe Kevin's just going to be too good for him.
The motivation factor, we touched on it when we talked about your career. The motivation factor for something like that must be hard for Kevin. If I interview him, he's going to tell me that he's 100%, and you have to say that. But it's got to be a little bit hard when you fought guys like Kalenga and Nielsen, and now you have Ferguson in front of you to get up for that.
I don't think so, somehow in Kevin's case, because like you said, we've had the corona and he's been out of action since February of this year. He works so hard and he loves what he's doing. If you work so hard and you love what you're doing, you can get up for it. You can get up for any fight. So it's sometimes harder to get up for a fight that's not a world title, but in Kevin's position, I think he'll get up for it, and I think he's going to look explosive like he has been in his last few fights. And of course, this fight is in conjunction with Lou DeBella.
Yes.
Lou DeBella is bringing in a big network from America, so we look forward to that as well.
For our viewers, I've said it before, UFC Fight Pass, if you're sitting in the States or in the rest of the world, they will be streaming the 3 other fights on the bill, the 3 main ones, Rock, Knapp and Simon Gladler, Jabulani Mackenzie and Katembo, as well as Kevin Lerena and Patrick Ferguson. If you haven't seen Kevin Lerena before, or Rock, Knapp, Simon Gladler or Jabulani Mackenzie, if you're a hardcore boxing fan, it's worth taking a look at what comes out of South Africa as well. So UFC Fight Pass.
UFC Fight Pass, absolutely, it's going to be brilliant. I mean, millions of Americans are going to be tuned into UFC Fight Pass. So it's a massive, massive opportunity as well for Kevin Lavina, for Mackenzie, for Manajika, for all the fighters that are on the bill that are going to be showcased on UFC Fight Pass. So it's brilliant. Lou DiBella's part of it, as I said, in conjunction with Golden Gloves. He's a Hall of Famer, Lou DiBella, and UFC Fight Pass will be doing it live, so it's fantastic.
And one thing, you know, it's been a very, very hard year for all of us, not only in boxing, but we're here to talk boxing. We've had 2 cancelled tournaments in the Eastern Cape that I was going to be at. COVID flare-ups caused the venues to be shut, so that's not really anybody's fault so much. But we've had Boruthi Mtalane's big fight on Sunday in Durban cancelled for other reasons, which is very bad. We've had a lot of that, and people give Golden Gloves a lot of criticism, a lot of praise too. But one thing which you can say is all the fights actually happen, and the tournaments go ahead.
For sure.
And it's a very professionally run outfit, and yeah, so we can look forward to a nice boxing card.
For sure.
Saturday.
Hats off to Golden Gloves, to Ronnie Bergen. They make it happen. I mean, yeah, we all are in a bubble. We've all, we're all negative for COVID, which is brilliant. Everybody, the fight is happening, like you say. The fight in Durban's not happening for various reasons, COVID reasons, money reasons. And the fight in East London was cancelled. And here we are, we're at Empress Palace, and the fight is going to happen. So hats off to Golden Gloves for making it happen, and to Empress Palace, of course, and Super Sport, the world champion.
Just getting guys to the ring is a challenge these days. But that's it from us. Be sure to tune in on Saturday night. I think we started from 6 o'clock on Super Sport.
6 o'clock live on Super Sport.
Later, Fight Pass will be joining us there. You can go on the Fight Pass website. I'm sure we'll have a time there. Not sure what it is in America. You can join us from that. And we'll see each other at ringside on Saturday. Thanks for taking the time, Brian.
It's a pleasure, dude. Thank you for giving me the time.